YB stays on your neck.
Were you disappointed you didn't get to go to California or Mexico during the press tour?
It would have been great, but I guess they didn't choose Mexico or LA. I was kind of disappointed, but it is what it is. I gotta do what I gotta do December 7th and win.
When you were sort of negotiating where the venue was going to be, my personal preference was Estadio Azteca in Mexico. Would you have liked to have had the fight there?
Of course, of course I would want to fight over there in Mexico, and that would have been something historic as well, But we're negotiating if it was going to be over there in UK and LA or back in New York, but we choose Saudi Arabia. Couldn't have been a better place, historic place. I made history, so I'm planning to make history again December 7th.
Yo, my dance. Make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So we just heard there from Andy Margin Boo, aka Andy, the indentured servant, aka Andy, the contractual servant, Ruiz. Now you may be wondering, why is YB talking about indentured servants and contractual slaves? I'll tell you why we're talking about those two aforementioned subjects. Listen, Andy Ruiz here has confirmed he had absolutely no say in anything, not even a bit of say. He did as he was told, as the YB predicted, as Eddie Hearn refused to tell you, man. Funnily enough, I've got a video coming out in the next few days or weeks or whenever I get around to doing it. Eddie Hearn actually confirms everything YB said. He confirms everything about all the deerishness that was going on behind scenes. And twos, he confirms that Andy Margin Boo Ruiz had absolutely no say. And to be honest, never mind Hearn, we've pretty much heard there from Andy Ruiz confessing himself. He had no say in anything. Now give me a few minutes now to let the YB go to work and deduce how we know Andy Ruiz had absolutely no say. Now, in this actual topic, he actually does discuss the ultimate venue of the fight in Saudi Arabia, but never mind that. Now, as we know, contracts have two parties. In this particular situation, contracts have two parties: Team AJ and Team Ruiz. Now, the whole debate has been, who has the power? I got the belt. Gonna be on my turn. Gonna be on my turn. I got the belt. Gonna be on my turn. That's been the whole debate. Who's got the power? Who's doing what? Now we know. Every single thing is allegedly negotiated. If there was 50-50 power, everything would be negotiated. And never mind 50-50 power. Andy Ruiz was talking about, gonna be on my turn. I'm the champ. I got the belt. So never mind that. But let's just assume it was 50-50 in terms of power. Let's not even discuss Andy Ruiz having ultimate power, which is what he alleged. Let's assume it's straight down the middle. Well, you got to now ask yourself, wait there a minute. If there's 50-50 power, how is it possible that Andy Ruiz would have liked to have gone to Mexico for a press conference, would have liked to have gone to LA, both of which are his home states? What we do know is AJ went to his home state in London. Facts. That's a factual. So AJ went to his hometown. Did Andy Ruiz go to any of his hometowns? No, he went to none of them. So I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I thought Andy Ruiz and Al Gaiman I thought Andy Ruiz and Al Gaiman had 50-50 power at least. I thought they were talking about, it'll be a my turn. Al Gaiman got all the plans. You had Hatman talking about how Al Gaiman's got Eddie Hearn wrapped around his finger. You had Al Gaiman and Hatman plotting and talking about, Al Gaiman's got so many plans. If you had that many plans, how has it now come to pass that they didn't even get, bearing in mind though, there was 3 press conferences. It wasn't as if they were like, well, we're only doing one press conference and it's going to be in the hometown. It was a worldwide tour. They went to 3 locations. And it's not even as if, well, you know what? It's not, Mexico isn't a big market. If anything, actually, on hindsight, it was a bit of a bit of a mishap, in my opinion, to miss Mexico, knowing how much that means for DAZN, especially given the Canelo audience, is actually a bit of a business flop. However, in terms of the contractual power part, this here proves Ruiz had no power, despite how much of a big market Mexico is. That just shows that the Mexico market's massive. That's Andy Ruiz's hometown, and still, regardless of how big Mexico is in terms of boxing demand, regardless of how much of a hometown it is for Andy Ruiz, he still couldn't get it there because he has absolutely no power. That's the bottom line. He got told where it would be. That's that. End of it. He got told, Andy, you will be here on this date, on this time. Otherwise, you see them there lawyers in New York, they'll be knocking your damn door again. It'd be as simple as that, the same way we knocked your door last time when you thought you was being smart. That's that. And you're not going to sit there and say, maybe, you can all there argue the toss. That's the facts of it. Time, date, venue, be there. Good boy. And then when he did fulfill that, Eddie Hearn said, you good boy Al, good boy Andy Ruiz. You've done well. Patted him. I've seen the video. I'm gonna release it soon. I've seen the video. After the London press conference, Eddie Hearn patted Al Heyman on the head, patted Andy Ruiz on the head, and then tapped him on the bum as they left back on the plane to New York. That's what happened. It's fact. I've seen the video. I've seen it. Good boy Al. Good boy Andy. You can get on your way now. You may leave now. That's what they was waiting. At the end of the press conference, about 7 p.m, they was Andy Ruiz and... I got the video. Andy Ruiz and Al Heyman was sitting there with their tails between their legs, kind of looking like lost souls. And Eddie Hearn walked over, tapped them both on the head and said, now you may leave. You may leave. That's the truth of it. You lot can sit there and argue. I've seen the video. I've seen the footage. They look like lost puppies. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what then... Sorry, I'm going to rephrase that. Not lost puppies. They didn't know what their next contractual order was. Thankfully, Eddie Hearn saw them looking a bit lost, walked over there and gave them their new orders. You may now leave. That's that. You may now visit your home. That's the truth of it. And actually, before I move on to my next point, I want to completely dead and bury this. Now, we've just talked there for a second about how Andy Ruiz had absolutely no power because he couldn't go... Out of the 3 venues, not even one of them was where Andy Ruiz wanted it. That's the truth of it. Not even one was where he wanted it. Out of 3... Andy, let me ask you a question. Andy, Al Heyman, out of 3 venues of a world tour, it's not as if they weren't getting on planes anyway. There was planes all over the place. You had Andy Ruiz coming from America. You had AJ coming from London. There was planes going all over the place. So my thing is, since there's planes going all over the place... Since they're visiting 3 venues, Andy, Al Heyman, since you allegedly have at least 50% of the power, how is not one of them 3 venues the one that you wanted? I'll tell you how, you had no power, that's how it is. Anyway, as I was saying, listen, never mind all that, the other thing the other nail in the coffin for this argument is, we're not even talking about, like, fight venue here. Fight venue is a pretty big thing. So to control the fight venue, you need at least 50% of the power. We're not even at that stage yet. We're just talking about a press conference. Do you understand that? A press conference. If for example, if for an actual fight venue, you need at least 50% of the power to dictate that venue. For a press conference, you probably only need like 10% of the power. Do that make sense? In terms of, if we were to spell it out, in terms of what kind of contractual power you need to pick one of 3 venues, you probably only need 10% of the power, because it's not a big thing. We're not talking about a fight venue. We're not talking about anything which actually matters to the fight. We're not talking about anything which really has any monetary value. But still, even if Andy Ruiz didn't even have 10% of the contractual value, because he, for such a small thing as a press conference, he couldn't even get one of them. They could have added one. It's not, and it's the worst thing. They actually went to America. Do you understand that? They actually went to New York. Would it have hurt really to add an extra day on the end and gone to LA? Andy Ruiz's hometown. In fact, never mind going to America, Mexico's only down a bit more. Would it have hurt really to have gone to Mexico, given how big the market is? No, but I've heard from people within AJ's camp that the reason they were actually thinking about going to Mexico, because as I said, it's a big market, but they actually said, you know what? Since we have 100% of the power, We're gonna make Andy Ruiz fly everywhere we want him to fly around. There's no reason, there's no contractual obligation. Andy Ruiz has no contractual power to go anywhere he wants to. He's going where we want to go and where we don't want to go. If we don't want to go to Mexico, if we don't want to go LA, we ain't going to Mexico and we ain't going to LA. That's it, no power. That's what it comes down to, no power at all. Anyway, that's that now dead and buried. If any of you are struggling, oh, I'm not sure, Andy, gonna be my turn. Got the bills. Out gaming. If any of you is ever confused, I'm glad now we've completely dead and buried that one. Anyway, the next joke in this same video. Well, I've now discussed the first half of the video clip which I played at the start of this video. Now the second half of the clip, my man actually, or the interviewer, kind of tries to blow and suck Andy Ruiz off. He says something like, "Oh yeah, Andy Ruiz. I don't know what. I can't remember where." So basically, he goes, "Andy Ruiz. Oh my." He's talking about the fight venue being in Saudi Arabia, and the reporter says, "Oh, Andy Ruiz, I don't know about Saudi Arabia, but I wanted it to be somewhere in Mexico." He named some Mexican state, I don't know, Santa Monica, something like that. Santa Monica and even in Mexico, but it sounds something like something S. Bottom line, it's in Mexico. He says, "Oh, Andy, I don't know about Saudi Arabia. I want it to be in Mexico." And then Andy Ruiz then comes in and says, "Oh yeah, well when we were, oh, I would have loved for it to be in Mexico as well, but I have absolutely no power." And then this is what killed me. So he admits he had no power because he says he would have loved for it to be in Mexico. And we actually know from that IG video where he says, "Oh, we're going to do it in Mexico, we're going to be on our terms." We know he wanted to do it in Mexico. We know he wanted to do it in LA and Mexico. So the fact it's in Saudi Arabia, we know he has no power. But more importantly, Andy Ruiz then goes on to say,
when you were sort of negotiating where the venue was going to be, my personal preference was Estadio Azteca in Mexico. Would you have liked to have had the fight there?
Of course, of course I would want to fight over there in Mexico, and that would have been something historic as well, but we're negotiating if it was going to be over there in UK and LA or back in New York, but we choose Saudi Arabia. Couldn't have been a better place, historic place. I made history, so I'm planning to make history again December 7th.
"Oh yeah, oh yeah, well when we were when we were negotiating, yeah, when we were negotiating, they told us Saudi Arabia, this is a great place. This is where we wanted to fight in Saudi Arabia." So he essentially says that, well, the first admission Andy Ruiz, the first confession Andy Majin Buu Ruiz, the first confession Andy contractual slave Ruiz makes is that he admits, he tries to cover his tracks, to be fair. He first of all starts talking about, oh, when we were negotiating, as if there was a negotiation at all, but then he shoots himself in the foot and spills the beans, because he says, one minute he says about a negotiation of the fight venue, and the next minute he tells the truth and says, "We wanted here and they told us Saudi Arabia." That's what he says. Listen to it back. We waited for them to tell us the venue. Well, wait, I thought it was a negotiation. How in a negotiation you should be waiting for no one to tell you anything, because you should be negotiating an agreed thing. But the fact that Andy Ruiz confesses here that we waited for them to tell us the venue and they told us Saudi Arabia, that is dead and buries it. He was waiting to be told the venue, of which he had no say. And then the next part of it is this is the bit that killed me the most of the whole lot. He starts saying, "Oh yeah, we always wanted to fight in Saudi. Saudi is a great place." Well, wait a minute. Let's talk Turkey. I know you're trying to hold the L. I know Al Gaiman's trying to brush up his PR. I know he's trying to brush up his brand now, because Eddie Hearn's fully killed his brand off. His old brand of being the puppet master has been well and truly slayed by Hearn on this one. Let's get it right. So let's not. But I know. In fact, I've heard from people within Andy Ruiz's camp. What's his name? Al Gaiman actually sat Andy Ruiz down and said, "Before you go on this press tour, I need you to try and I need you to make sure. Yeah, man, Andy Ruiz, man. I need you to make sure. I need you to tell all the reporters that we wanted to go to Saudi. Yeah, man. I need y'all to tell all the reporters that we wanted to go to Saudi. I need you to tell all the reporters that we negotiated to go to Saudi. So it makes me look like I got some power lift. That's what you're hearing here. Andy Ruiz all of a sudden talking about how he loved to go to Saudi, how they wanted to go to Saudi. No, you got it right the first time, Andy. You were told, you was waiting to be, we, as in you and Gaiman, were waiting to be told by Hearn and AJ where it would be. And they told you Saudi Arabia, which we already know is not, this doesn't take rocket science. As I said, we know how Gaiman was trying to backtrack and trying to recover his brand from the depths of zero, or from the depths of completely slayed. But unfortunately, the YB's here to call a spade and point out where you got caught lacking out, Gaiman, because Andy Ruiz himself said, we're not going Saudi. Categorically said, I got no protection in Saudi. I can't talk about that. Trying to make out he had all these clandestine, all these deep operations going on, which we were going to get him, all these deep lawyers. You had the LDBC ranting and raving about, oh yeah, man, Hearn don't understand contracts, man. This is America, man. Y'all contracts don't mean SHIT over here, man. Our Gaiman, he owns the lawyers in the courts in New York. I don't know about all that, LDBC. All I know is they're in Saudi. Never mind the venue, never mind the fight venue. Your man couldn't even get press conferences in the places he wanted. That's how much power Al Gaiman's got. That's how good Al Gaiman is. That's how good Al Gaiman's lawyers is. Even though, and the worst thing is, Al Gaiman has actually spent, this last 2 months, he spent $10 million. Confirmed fact. He spent $10 million on lawyers these last 2 months. Andy Ruiz is now actually fighting for free. He's getting paid $9 million. In fact, no, he's in $1 million debt. It's facts are there. Gaiman spent $10 million on lawyers. Andy Ruiz is fighting for free this fight, just to cover the lawyer fees, because Al Gaiman's pulled the wool over his eyes. Al Gaiman told him, yeah, Randy, listen to me, man. Yeah, I'll get you the fight in Mexico. I'm going to get you the big split. And Andy Ruiz believed him, and now he's on the line for his whole purse is on the line to cover Al Gaiman's legal costs of trying to fight the Hearn. At least, to be fair, if nothing else comes from this, at least Al Gaiman knows his place now. Al Gaiman knows never to try and play Mr. Big Shot again. You can play it with Bob Arum, you can play it with Fish Eyes. All we do know is, when it comes to Eddie Ironclad Hearn, don't try and play big shot, because you'll find yourself in court and your knees will be jangling together again. You're getting a bit older, and I'm telling you now, it's bad now. In another year or two, your ticker ain't going to be the same. Your ticker ain't... The next time the lawyers come knocking your door, there's no telling if your ticker's going to hold up, Al. Especially when you're another 10 million in the hole. So if nothing else comes from this, at least we know that Al Heyman knows his place now. He knows all them games that work in the US don't work over here in the UK. Because the UK Don, Eddie Hearn, came to the US and put Al in his place. The facts are there, the precedent's there. What we do know is Eddie Hearn initiated a lawsuit. And all the LDBC, all the Al Gaimanites, they all jumped on the bandwagon. Actually, quite embarrassingly, I feel a bit sorry for them. They actually, because we've got to remember, for the last 10 years, it's been all this hype about Al Gaiman, and no one's really been able to check it. And even myself, I had to kind of sit there and just kind of wait. But what we do know is, Eddie Hearn called his bluff. Eddie Hearn tested Al Gaiman's gangster. He didn't do it in the UK. He came to New York, the pinnacle of law in the world, more or less. He came to New York and executed a lawsuit. If Al Gaiman was ever going to show anything, he could have showed it. It wasn't as if Eddie Hearn was waiting for Al Gaiman to sue him. Eddie Hearn set the precedent. Al Gaiman had ample opportunity, the perfect opportunity, to show all of his legal capital, all of his business capital, all of his network. And what did he do? He bottled it. He didn't even dare... He didn't even get out of first base. He didn't even challenge it. He just shit his pants and bowed down and became a good boy. And Eddie Hearn told him I've got the recording there. Eddie Hearn after Gaiman and Ruiz officially submitted and succumbed to the lawsuit, Eddie Hearn rang Al and said, "Al, you naughty, just like I told Fred, you've been a naughty boy. Now, if you'd like me to end this lawsuit, I suggest you fall in line." And I told you before, Al Gaiman got on the phone to Ruiz and Andy, put the promotional material out, Andy. Eddie Hearn's about to cook my ass in cold. Andy, put the promotional material out, Andy. I'm about to get my ass handed to me in Cole. Andy, put the promotional material out. And that's when you saw all the tweets and all the Instagrams come out. That's the truth of it. And if you might think I'm lying, ask yourself, why didn't he fight the business beef? Why didn't he go to court? He don't want no parts of court. And that's why the venues in Saudi Arabia, where they the same place, Saudi Arabia was the place Al Gaiman and Ruiz said they weren't going. And now, Eddie Hearn and AJ, their team's so powerful, they've got Al Gaiman and Ruiz not only going to Saudi, the place they said they were refusing to go, he's got them. This is crazy. He's not only got them going to Saudi, he's got them enjoying the fact Eddie Hearn will bend you over and pipe you, and he'll do it in such a dominant way. You'll actually thank him for it. You'll actually say, "Oh, Eddie, this is a good pipe. Thank you, Eddie." You've heard him there, Ruiz, saying it. Oh, this is Saudi Arabia, the place he didn't want to go. Oh, Saudi, my favourite place. I love Saudi. Oh, I love the pipe from Eddie Hearn from behind. I love being told what to do and where to do it. You've heard it there. Facts. You can't fight. It's the truth. It's not me. You've heard him there. He's loving the pipe from behind. He's loving taking orders. He's loving being told where to fight. And that's how it goes. Bottom line. Don't mess with Eddie Hearn no more. Otherwise, you'll be bending over and enjoying another pipe up your ass.